All right. And now, the big moment we've been waiting for. We'll hear the roar of the crowd building in the background, and they are going to remember tonight forever. For the 40th time, let's count down. 17, 16, 15, 14, 13, 12, 11, 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Happy New Year! We had another great new year. People are looking to the future with hope and goodwill. And not too long from now, they will call the people, sweep up everything, and Times Square will look fine by morning. But for right now, what a night to remember. Brian?
From Times Square in New York City, it's Dick Clark's Primetime New Year's Rockin' Eve 2004, starring Aerosmith, Bon Jovi, Fleetwood Mac, Kiss, Avril Lavigne, Tim McGraw, and a special appearance by Justin Timberlake, plus Jessica Simpson and Nick Lachey, and exclusive reports from Times Square with Steve Ducey and Mario Lopez. Plus, live visits to Walt Disney World in Florida and Disneyland in California. Now, live from the Times Square studios in the heart of New York City, here is Dick Clark.
Good evening from New York, where we're getting ready for the biggest party in the world, New Year's Eve in Times Square. Now, tonight marks the 100th anniversary of the Times Square celebration, and we'll be talking a little bit more about that later on. And we will be with you all night long, right through the ball drop and beyond, so stay right where you are for music, stars, surprises, and wall-to-wall excitement. Of course, when it comes to excitement, there's nothing anywhere in the world that compares to what you're going to see tonight. Now, the crowd has been building since mid-afternoon, and by midnight, well, this year they're telling us this may be the most exciting ball drop ever. And we'll be giving you an exclusive sneak preview of all the happenings in Times Square. Plus, you're going to be entertained by some of the hottest music stars of the year, like our first performer. She grew up in a little town in Ontario, Canada, and they tell us she was kind of a skater punk in those days, which is no doubt where she came up with the idea for her #1 song, Skater Boy. And she's performing that monster hit for us tonight in a very unique setting for her, Dublin, Ireland. Now, there's a lot of excitement going on for this young lady. She has never played the United Kingdom before. She got a capacity crowd there, and boy, oh boy, are they waiting for her arrival. Ladies and gentlemen, here is Avril Lavigne. Avril Lavigne, she is one of those super talented people who writes her own music, and as you just saw, there's now a hot ticket all over the world, packing thousands of people in wherever she goes. Now, when it comes to crowds of people, nothing beats that scene right outside our window. As I said, this is the 100th year this gathering is taking place in Times Square. That first celebration took place in 1904 on top of the roof of the #1 Times Square. As a matter of fact, they had fireworks that year. The first ball drop didn't happen until 1907. Things have changed a little bit since those days, as our two correspondents in Times Square can tell you. They're taking on the crowds tonight, and one of them's my old pal, Steve Ducey from the morning show Fox and Friends. Steve, how are you surviving tonight?
I'm doing okay, Dick, and the crowd is excited. Of course, I'm up a little late tonight. Luckily, I had Rush Limbaugh's housekeeper score me some no-dos. Now, it's a veteran-free. Now, of course, everybody's heard about that whole orange alert thing in New York City. Really no big change here at Times Square. Although this year, the one big difference is the ball on 1 Times Square was built by Tom Ridge this year. It's completely built from duct tape and plastic shading. Now, as for those New Year's resolutions, nobody keeps them. But there are things that our loved ones do that bug us. This young couple is from Australia. You've been married for 1 month.
Yes, we've been married for a month.
And what is he doing that bugs you?
We've been in America for a month, and he's been putting on a fake American accent, and it really bothers me because it's terrible.
Stop it! Will you? No problem.
Yeah, thank you.
Hey, mate. See, I can speak their language because I've been to the Outback Steakhouse. Hey, Dick, one other thing. Bad news for any viewers tonight who are on the Atkins or the South Beach diet, and that is that confetti is a carb.
Thank you, Steve, very much for that noteworthy observation. Now, our other correspondent is used to getting around and being in excitement because he causes excitement wherever he goes. That's my pal, Mario Lopez. Mario, how's it going out there?
Well, main man, Dick, I'll tell you what, there is a party going on down here in Times Square. Everybody is fired up to close out 2003, and they're ready to see that ball drop. Look at this. They're saying, Dick, drop the ball. For God's sakes, they're ready to go, Dick. And you know what? The weather is not bad. It's warm. It feels great out here. We got beautiful weather, and we're surrounded by beautiful people. And let's talk to some of them right now. How you doing? Where are you from?
I'm Liliana, and I'm from Los Alamos, New Mexico.
Los Alamos, New Mexico. And yourself?
I'm from Los Alamos, Mexico. I'm Lisa Sanchez.
All right, Lisa Sanchez. That explains the eyewear from New Mexico. Now, was 2003 a good year for you?
Yeah, it was pretty good. Surprisingly.
Pretty good. She's surprised about that. And I'll tell you what, it was also a very good year for the box office. There were some great movies out this year. You want to know what the top 3 movies are? Do you guys know what they were?
No.
All right, well, here they are right now. Check them out.
The Matrix Reloaded. Pirates of the Caribbean.
Believing in ghost stories, Miss Turner. You're in one.
Finding Nemo.
Those were some great movies. Dick, which one was number 1, buddy? I don't know.
I tell you what, Mario, we are going to find out. We'll find out the most popular movie when we return. Plus, we've got Aerosmith, Tim McGraw, and a lot of good stuff. A special visit from Justin Timberlake, so don't you dare go away. Now, as you can see, other celebrations are going on tonight, like this one at Walt Disney World in Florida. They got a big Spectro Magic Parade at the Magic Kingdom with over 600,000 miniature lights. Lots of lights at Times Square, New York, too. And don't forget our big New Year's Rockin' Eve special coming up right after your local news with our hosts, Jessica Simpson and Nick Lachey. And we're going to be with you all night long. What is this year's #1 movie? Well, according to The Hollywood Reporter, it was Finding Nemo, which made well over $300 million at the box office as of mid-December. Lord of the Rings, Return of the King, also making a lot of money, but the totals for that one will be counted on next year's box office report. Now, obviously, those 2 great movies are going to be around for a long time, and when you talk about being around for a long time, very few rock groups can compete with our next act. Matter of fact, they have been called America's greatest rock band. I'm referring to Aerosmith, and it's a little hard to believe that they first formed their group back in 1970. 30 years later, they were inducted into the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame. Tonight, we find them on their sold-out 2003 tour, and they seem to be in a New Year's Eve frame of mind. As a matter of fact, I think Steven Tyler has a resolution to tell us about. Steven?
This is our New Year's Eve resolution. Happy New Year!
Happy New Year, Aerosmith. Oh, man. Well, that song, by the way, can be heard on their upcoming blues album, Honkin' on Bobo, which they tell me will be released to coincide with a major world tour this spring. Now, speaking of spring, it seems kind of spring-like in New York. Would you agree, Steve?
No, it's chilly and it's windy, but other than that, it's exactly like it. And the crowd is contagious, believe me. Most of them have the flu, and I'll have it tomorrow. My assignment with Dick Clark is to look with a clear eye for the weird guy, and I found him. Here he is right here. His name is Brood. Hello. Fine, thanks. Listen, I thought in the beginning this was a costume. It's not. It's body hair. I got 2 words for you. Epilady. All right, very good.
Epilady are 2 good words
dance.
That's right. Hey, listen, let's talk a little bit about the top CDs of the year. What were they? Here are 3 to think about. Just watch. Oh, those are all really good. Now let's go back upstairs from the street to the man who works one really long night a year. And no, I'm not talking about Santa. It's Dick Clark.
All right, Steve. Now, we'll be back with the name of the most popular CD of the year, plus music from the likes of Tim McGraw, Bon Jovi, and much, much more, so stay right where you are. Welcome back to New York City, where thousands and thousands of people are gathered to celebrate the coming of 2004. Now, as for 2003, as of mid-December, the most popular CD, according to our friends at Billboard magazine, was Get Rich or Die Trying by 50 Cent. Staying with our musical theme for a moment, our next musical performer had one of the hottest years of his career. Had a double platinum album, one of the top grossing tours of 2003, took home a bushel full of awards, all of that, and he gets to come home to Faith Hill, which is not bad duty. From his one-band tour, appearing at the Van Andel Arena in Grand Rapids, Michigan, here's Tim McGraw and the Dance Hall Doctors. Thank you, Tim. Happy New Year. You know, this was the year that Tim toured without an opening act. It's Tim and his band, and I hear they performed for 2.5 hours every night. That is called giving the people their money's worth. Now, it doesn't cost any money to be in Times Square tonight. It's a free event. And, of course, you have to get down there in the middle of the afternoon to get the best spot. But come midnight, I guarantee you it will be time well spent. Now, down there, amongst the throngs of people, is our correspondent, Mario Lopez. Mario, how goes it?
Dick, I'll tell you what, it's all action down here, buddy. And one of the things I love most about this experience is that I get to talk to these people from all over the world. Like these beautiful ladies right here. Where y'all from?
Los Angeles!
Los Angeles, California, represent. Let me ask you, ladies, how long have you been standing out here?
Over 9 hours? Since 1 o'clock.
Since 1 o'clock. So if you're hungry, if you have to go to the bathroom, somebody hold your place or something?
No, nobody breaks that. Nobody breaks that off.
So you haven't gone to the restroom like in 9 hours?
I'm here right now as we speak.
Oh my gosh, they're ready to go there. So is this your first time in New York for New Year's Eve?
Yes.
What made you want to come here?
We want to see Dick's ball drop.
Whoa, Dick, they're ready to see it. I beg your pardon. Let's go over to this young lady. Good luck, girls, with that. Look at this little doggy. They're going to have a doggone good time here in New York. Where are you from, ma'am?
Salt Lake.
Salt Lake City, Utah. All right. Dick, back to you, buddy. We'll talk.
Yeah, get out of that one, Mario. Get out of that one. Hang in there for a few minutes. The minutes continue to build to midnight, and we will bring every single moment of it through you, right through midnight and beyond. Coming up, something you will not want to miss, a performance by Kiss. Come on back. Hey, welcome back. Now, not only we're going to bring you all the craziness in Times Square tonight, but we also have a really big party in Hollywood, which is going to bring us up to the subject of our hosts for that portion of the show. They are 2 famous recording artists in their own right, and they've just become known as very well-known TV's newlywed couple. I mean, they star in their own reality series where they have sort of allowed America to look in on their marriage, and they are our hosts in Hollywood tonight, Jessica Simpson and Nick Lachey, who should be ready to go right about now. Jessica and Nick, are you ready to roll?
Hey, Dick, we're getting ready to drive to the show right now, where we're going to party with the top stars of the year.
And let me remind you about those live reports from Times Square all night long.
Jessica, Dick's the one that does those reports.
Well, good. Then I'm glad I reminded him.
We got to get going. We'll see you later.
You better get a move on that, because that party is going to begin right after the local news. That's New Year's Rockin' Eve, and this year we've got a spectacular lineup of stars. People like Three Doors Down, Hall & Oates, Jagged Edge, Lil Jon, Jason Mraz, Rascal Flatts, Donna Summer, Yin Yang Twins, and I know we're going to be able to coax Jessica Simpson and Nick Lachey to perform a song or two. Should be quite a party, and if you're looking for a party attitude, nobody beats the group Kiss. As a matter of fact, they party all over the world. We're about to see them performing from Melbourne, Australia at the Telstra Dome. This is a celebration of the 30th anniversary of the band, and what a celebration it is. 35,000 fans in attendance. The Melbourne Symphony Orchestra backing up on stage, wearing full Kiss makeup with Paul Stanley, about to kick things off on stage. This is Kiss. Oh, thank you, Kiss. Oh, man, it's easy to see why they're known as the greatest rock and roll show on earth. How about the makeup on the symphony orchestra? That's got to be a first. Now, while we've been enjoying Kiss, the crowds are getting even bigger in Times Square, and this is the time when the serious party people start to arrive. And, of course, also down there in the crowd is the unpredictable Steve Ducey. Steve, what in the world are you up to now?
Things are very exciting. I'm here with Paris Hilton. Oh, wait a minute. I'm not at Paris Hilton. I'm in front of the New York Marriott. That's what I meant to say. You know, at midnight, the tradition, Dick, is to grab somebody and kiss them. Young man, who will you be locking lips with at midnight?
I'm going to give her a kiss.
And you?
I'm going to kiss him.
Oh, I'm noticing a trend. And you, son?
I'm going to give her a kiss.
I'm going to kiss Steve.
All right, Lucky, and you?
I'm kissing this handsome New York police officer back here, right behind you.
Oh, yeah. So you go for guys with handcuffs?
Of course. I've got my eyes on a few of them.
I understand. Yeah. Great. I'd kiss somebody, but my wife has Mark Garagos on speed dial. Anyway, we've been talking about the top things of the year. Now let's take a look at the top 3 DVDs of this season.
I'm
Finding
picking
Nemo.
on the jellies. You got serious thrill issues, dude.
Oh.
Awesome.
Ooh. Oh.
Oh, man. Hey, no hurling on the shell, dude, okay? Just waxed it.
Harry Potter and the Chamber of Secrets. Lord of the Rings, The Two Towers.
All good stuff. That's the latest from the street. Back to Dick Clark in his Spider Hall.
What? Come on now. Well, we'll find out what the most popular DVD of the year was, plus music from Fleetwood Mac, more reports from Times Square, and lots of surprises. We're going to be right back. This year, there's a new fireworks show called Magical Gatherings and Wishes at Walt Disney World in Florida. And, of course, at Disneyland Resort in California, people are lining up at It's a Small World. Now, back in Times Square, what was the most popular DVD of the year? Well, as of mid-December, according to Nielsen Video Scan, the answer was Finding Nemo, the same film that was our box office champ. Now, what spectacular things are going to happen at midnight? Well, the man who knows is Tim Tompkins. He's the president of the Times Square Business Improvement District, also known as BID or BID. They're a non-profit group that works to keep Times Square clean, safe, and friendly. And they're also the folks in charge of the festivities tonight. Now, Tim, how in the world are you going to top yourself this year?
Well, really, it's the New Yorkers and the tourists that are topping us this year because they're out here, and in spite of all these crazy warnings about security, they're out in force. They're having a great time. The crowd is already stretched from Times Square up to Central Park, which means we have at least as many, if not more, people than last year. And, of course, they're going to go crazy when Shoshana Johnson, the former POW, sends a signal with Mayor Bloomberg to lower the ball, and all the confetti flies and the fireworks go off.
Well, Tim, you've certainly done a great job, and as always, it's the most well-organized, biggest party of the world, right there at the crossroads of the world where everybody's eye is glued on the ball drop. It just seems to get better and better every year, like our next day. They are among the most successful artists of all time, and if you need some proof, they just sold over 100 million albums. As a matter of fact, one album, Rumors, ranks as one of the top 5 selling albums in music history. Tonight, we're going to see them in Boston at the appropriately named Fleetwood Center. This, ladies and gentlemen, is Fleetwood Mac. Thank you, Fleetwood Mac. Now, you can see that song in their upcoming soundstage special this spring and try to catch them on their cross-country tour in early May. Now, speaking of tours, one of the biggest superstars of them all is on a world tour right now and is going to talk to us on stage from Dublin, Ireland. Ladies and gentlemen, Justin Timberlake. Justin.
Hey, Dick, it's Justin. Just want to say sorry I couldn't be there. I'm on tour right now in Dublin. But on behalf of my hometown, Memphis, Tennessee, we want to say happy 50th anniversary of rock and roll. And on behalf of Dublin and the rest of the world, we want to say...
Happy New Year to you, Justin, and all of the people in Dublin, Ireland. Don't forget, the 50th anniversary of rock and roll that Justin just talked about is going to be celebrated all year long in his hometown of Memphis, Tennessee. Now, let's go from Justin in Dublin to Mario in Times Square. Mario!
Dick, JT might be having a great time in Dublin, but we are doing it up right right here in Times Square. And I've been talking to everybody, and you know what? We're all getting chummy and talking about our New Year's resolutions. And I want to go to bed earlier and wake up earlier, become more computer friendly, and not eat so much because I'm a pig and I eat too much. Young lady, what is your New Year's resolution?
To go back to school.
Oh, go back to school. Very good. And where are you from?
I'm from Indiana. Right?
Indiana. Nice, nice. And you, my man, what is your New Year's resolution?
Mine's to work out and get buff, just like you, Mario.
Oh, I don't know about that. Good luck, man. Everybody's a health conscious. Where are you from, ma'am?
Japan.
Japan. Do you have a New Year's resolution?
Yes, maybe I will try to study harder next year.
Study harder this year. So we've got nothing but great people who just want to work harder here. Dick, back to you, bud.
Mario, you are a true party animal. Enjoy the crowd, and my friend, we're going to be checking back with you a little bit later on. In the meantime, you plan to stay with us all night long. You will not want to miss a moment of the celebration here or the big party in Hollywood. There's a lot more to come from Times Square, including music from Bon Jovi. Don't go away. Hey, welcome back. You know, this mild weather we're having in Times Square is really causing good times to happen. More and more people are gathering. They're still packing people into Times Square tonight, and they'll probably see at least 750,000 people before the ball drops. It's going to be one of the biggest crowds we've ever had. Now, here's a band that once stopped traffic for miles with their big NFL kickoff spectacular concert. Matter of fact, it took place right outside here in Times Square. And this year, they are celebrating a new album entitled This Left Field's Right, Greatest Hits with a Twist, and another sold-out world tour, their third in the last 3 years. From Hyde Park, London, in front of a crowd of 95,000 people, here is Bon Jovi. Thank you, Bon Jovi. Now, in just about an hour and 5 or 6 minutes from now, the crowd in Times Square is going to be looking for that ball to drop. It is the keystone. It is the mark that people look at all over the world. The place to be on New Year's Eve, no matter where you live in the world, is Times Square, New York. And there's still a lot more to come from here. And you got to be with us all night long. Don't go away. You know, you can really feel the anticipation growing in Times Square right now. The energy level started out high, and it's getting even higher. Steve Ducey, are you ready for the big countdown?
Yes, I am. Hey, stop hitting me in the head with that thing, Trojan man. Things are really starting to heat up, Dick. And, you know, since Times Square is the crossroads of the world, it's really an international event tonight. This young man's from Japan. How do you say Happy New Year, Dick, in Japanese? Akemashite omedetou. That's what I thought. Thank you. And right over here, this young lady is from Israel. How do you say Happy New Year in Hebrew?
Shana Tova.
Thank you very much. All right, now, as you can see from the streamers, Dick, it's getting a little windy in here. I know the late local news is coming up, so I've asked about 300 people to come on into your studios. Okay, you guys want to go into Dick's studio? All right, now let's go. Keep your feet off the furniture and stay away from Charlie Gibson's Thigh Master. Come on, you guys. Dick, back to you.
Thank you, Steve, for that update. Now, we'll see you in about a half an hour, by the way. Mario Lopez, how are you doing down there?
Oh, man, Dick, the party is just getting started down here. But I got to tell you, I'm a little upset that we have to take a break for the news. I know we need to know what's going on in the world, but there's a party down here in Times Square. We're waiting for the ball to drop, for goodness sake. Dick, all these cool people that I met in New York's finest, hanging out, protecting us, and having a good time as it is, and good-looking brothers as it is. This is my man, Billy Bob, that we've been talking. Billy Bob, tell him where you're coming from.
Coming from Martinsville, Virginia.
Martinsville, Virginia. And you fired up today?
Oh, yeah. We've been here since 11 o'clock.
Since 11 o'clock. People commit when they come here. And I got to tell you, before that anything, Mom, Happy New Year. She was getting mad because I didn't say that last year. Feliz Año Nuevo, Mama. And everybody down in San Diego. Dick, I know we got to take this break, but we'll talk to you soon, buddy.
Feliz Año Nuevo, Mario. All right. You know, the excitement just begins to build. Now, this thing's going to happen in just about an hour. That ball's going to drop, and when you see it happen, it is going to be phenomenal. You will hear something like you've never heard before. You're looking at about 750,000 people gathered at the crossroads of the world, cheek to jowl, with their hats and their horns and their silly glasses. They're ready to look up at #1 Times Square, watch that ball drop, and then you'll hear it happen. Don't forget the party in Hollywood hosted by Jessica Simpson and Nick Lachey. Starts in just about a half an hour. It stars Three Doors Down, Bow Wow, Hall & Oates, Jagged Edge, Little John, Jason Mraz, Donna Summer, and the Yin Yang Twins. Now, that is a lineup you will not want to miss, and it'll be coming to you right after your local news, so make sure you stay right here with us all the way through the ball drop all night long. We'll take a little break here, and then we'll return to the crossroads of the world on New Year's Rockin' Eve. Hi, Dick Clark with you live in Times Square with Michael Bloomberg, the mayor of New York. Your Honor, this is the first time I've ever been out here all these years without my coat on.
Well, it's you should be. The weather's always nice in New York. You know that.
What kind of a party we got planned tonight?
We have a wonderful party. We're going to have a record crowd. We go all the way up Broadway into Central Park, and we still have half an hour to go. It's wonderful that people turned out because in America we understand how precious freedom is, and that young men and women are around the world protecting us, and we want to go and celebrate in their honor.
Your Honor, thank you very much. Nice to have you with us.
To you. Appreciate it. And to everybody.
We'll be done live from Times Square all night, but right now, let us get this party underway.
From Hollywood and live from Disneyland Resort in California, Beale Street in Memphis, Disney World in Orlando, and Times Square. It's Dick Clark's New Year's Rockin' Eve 2004. Starring Three Doors Down, Bow Wow, Hall & Oates, Jagged Edge, Little John, Jason Mraz, Donna Summer, and Yin Yang Twins. Plus live updates from Times Square with Dick Clark and special correspondent Steve Ducey and Mario Lopez. And now from Times Square, here's Dick Clark.
Live in Times Square, it is rapping, it's rolling. We got a great party planned here. The mayor's doing interviews. I've been standing out here in warm weather with hardly ever a coat on. This is going to be one whale of a party tonight. And out in California, our hosts are wow, what a vehicle. Look at that. Jessica Simpson and Nick Lachey are going to be with us all night long, bringing together some of the greatest music ever. Oh, say hi to the fans. Hey, guys, you got to get into our nightclub, get things going. Oh, they got to do autographs. Come on, baby, get the party moving. Yeah, that's it. Move along. They're still doing the autographs. All right, fair enough. They are on their way. Ladies and gentlemen, from Hollywood, Jessica Simpson and Nick Lachey.
Hey, Happy New Year, everybody!
And welcome to Dick Clark New Year's Rockin' Eve 2004.
We've got the biggest names in music right here tonight.
And of course, Dick Clark in Times Square.
So let's get it started. I love our first performer so much, I don't even know the right words to introduce her.
Okay, then I'll do it. It's me.
Ladies and gentlemen, my wife, Jessica Simpson. Great job, honey. Now let's go to Times Square and Dick Clark.
Hey, we are rocking and rolling in Times Square in Hollywood, and we've got some very interesting things going on with our friends out in Hollywood. In California, we got Disneyland and Disney World pumping away, giving us great celebrations, wonderful feel, fireworks in the air, all of the wonderful things. Mickey and Minnie, hiya, gang! Welcome, nice to have you with us on the party. And in Times Square, it's great, and we'll be right back. Hey, you got to know the weather's warm in Times Square when the mayor and I can be out without a coat on. Very first time in 32 years I've been out there with no coat on, and boy, oh boy, are they ready to celebrate. In just about 15 minutes from now, that big ball will be dropping, and you're going to hear a scream that will set you on your ear. They are in an extraordinarily happy frame of mind tonight. They are really, really ready to party. Now, there's no secret because I already introduced them. Here, ladies and gentlemen, is Jason Mraz.
Do you know they've been celebrating New Year's Eve in Times Square since 1904?
Wow. We should have asked Dick Clark what it was like back then.
Jessica, that was 100 years ago. Dick wasn't there.
Oh, of course not. He was busy hosting American Bandstand.
Dick, help me out.
You're on your own. You're on your own, my friend. It is a big, big night here in Times Square, and it is just an extraordinary experience. Over 750,000 people have turned up tonight. The weather is balmy. It's 42 degrees. They're all waiting for the ball to drop, though. They've got their earmuffs on and some coats and so forth. They're in a happy frame of mind because the weather's great, the spirit is fine. Steve Ducey out there on the street, what's going on?
You're right, Dick, the people are happy. But they're a little upset with Jessica Simpson making that joke about you being there 100 years ago. And by the way, Dick, after the program, tell me again about the Boston Tea Party. Very shortly, in about 12 minutes, they're going to drop the ball, and for that, they've brought in some experts, the New York Giants. The Jets were that close. Dick, back to you.
Steve, I cannot help you except to say the party's going to continue. Lots of great stuff coming up. Don't you dare go away. We're going to be right back with more New Year's Rockin' Eve.
And now a special message brought to you by M&M's.
All right, let's check in with M&M's Red and Yellow, reporting live from the middle of Times Square. What do you see down there, guys?
People, Dick. Lots of people.
Yeah, people we don't know.
I mean, have you talked to anybody interesting out there?
I'm not talking to strangers in Times Square in the middle of the night.
Oh, I'll talk to him, Dick. I know karate and fujitsu and...
Hey, you guys really aren't very good reporters.
Where's my purse? Someone took my purse. Someone took my purse.
You don't have a purse. You never had a purse.
My pants. Someone took my pants.
We don't wear pants.
You mean we're in the middle of Times Square naked?
Yep. Back to you, Dick.
Thank you, gentlemen, very much. Your reporting leaves a little something to be desired. Mario, how you doing down there?
Dick, I'll tell you what, I could barely contain myself. There's only a few minutes left till midnight. These people could barely contain themselves. They broke through the barricade. Now I feel compelled that I have to talk to them. My man's all dressed up here. Give me a resolution real quick, please.
Peace on Earth, baby, peace on Earth.
Okay, highly original. Thank you very much. What do you think of Times Square?
Awesome, it's unbelievable, unbelievable.
Ladies, are we loving NYC?
We love it. We want to live here. An experience and an energy like no other that everyone should experience at least once.
You loving it here?
Best New Year's ever.
Oh my gosh. Dick, we have to hurry up and drop this ball, for God's sakes. Let's get the party started. Let's keep the party going.
Mario, don't worry, the party's starting out. The whole preparation thing started when you put the ball together and you get it all ready. It's been being dropped here since 1907 from high atop #1 Times Square. Now, they put it together. It's 6 feet in diameter. It's full of lights and all of that. 1 year, they put red lights in that thing, turned it into an apple. That was, I don't know, 20 years or so ago. But the traditional ball now has been covered with magnificent crystals, and when the crowd sees it begin to descend, that's when you will hear pandemonium strike. The biggest, most electric moment of the night is when the ball begins to drop high atop #1 Times Square. Now, check it out. They're all out there. They're waiting. They got their eyes glued to the top of that building. Listen, you can hear them. Oh, they've got all kinds of excitement going. Got the shakers and the rattlers and the hats and the horns, and all eyes are on the ball because in just 5 minutes from now, it is going to be 2004, and you can follow all of the activity right here on ABC and New Year's Rockin' Eve. Don't you dare go away. We are getting close, minutes away from the ball drop. By the way, don't forget, right after midnight, Donna Summer's going to sing The Last Dance, and it is going to be the perfect New Year's Eve song. In the meantime, in the square, all the eyes are glued to #1 Times Square. They're watching, they're waiting. The flag is waving. We got just 2 minutes to go, and the anticipation is rising in the crowd. Look at it. They're singing, they're happy, they're ready to rock and roll, they're ready to bring in the new year. And this is just the perfect night. I mean, the temperature now is around 40 degrees, dropped a couple of degrees since we last reported. The security is very firm here. There's the mayor, and Shoshana Johnson will be there to help cue the ball in. When the time comes, we'll count you down in just a minute and a half from now. Let the voices ring. Let the cheers abound. That's a happy-looking group of people. New York's finest standing by. They conduct, I gotta tell you, the best, the most wonderful party in the world. There's Shoshana and Mayor Bloomberg standing by. And when they hit the button, the ball will begin to descend in just 1 minute from now. There we go. It's on its way. You can hear the anticipation of the crowd. Listen to them. Oh, yes, indeed. In 45 seconds from now, all eyes are glued on the crossroads of the world, Times Square. Coming up in just 30 seconds from now. Yes, indeed, it's getting closer and closer. Count it down, 20, 19, 18, 17, etc., etc. We're gonna get there. Yes, indeed. In 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Happy 2004. Mickey and Minnie in Disneyland. Happy 2004. Oh, yes. America's favorite movie, don't you, Tony, in the park? Oh, you never look so good. Oh, yes, indeed. Here, Bloomberg. It's quite a sight. It really is. You know, there's really nothing like being there in the square. We bring it to you every year for the last 32 years here on ABC, and we get a nice fat audience, but there's nothing like the experience of being in Mario. Hey, hey. Yeah! Mario and Ali looking good in 2004. It's quite a display. Tons and tons of confetti happening here over Disneyland. It is magnificent behind the castle. Fireworks going. Happy New Year, everybody all over the world, and tons of confetti are falling. Looks like a colorful snowstorm is hit Times Square. You know, this New Year's celebration at Times Square has been a tradition for over 100 years. First time was in 1904. That's when Mayor Oaks threw an all-day street party, ending with fireworks display at the bottom of the tower. And before that, the crowd used to gather at the City Hall Park. But by New Year's 1907, Mayor Oaks arranged to have a large 400-pound illuminated glass ball, electrified, lowered from the tower at midnight, and that tradition has continued to this day. It is the one thing that the world looks to. You can have a New Year's celebration anywhere, but they ain't nothing like New York, nothing like what's going on at Disneyland. Oh, look at that Disneyland Resort in Anaheim, California. Happy New Year, folks. And don't forget, Donna Summer's coming right up with a classic version of Last Dance, and it's gonna touch you. It is the perfect New Year's Eve song. And look at them celebrating in Times Square, all the way up past 52nd Street. Gotta be close to 1 million people. Certainly more than 3/4 million. Mainly due to the wonderful weather we're experiencing. A good time being had by all. Times Square in New York City is a magnificent place to be. The camaraderie, the good spirit, and once again, thanks to the New York Police Department for putting it all together. Mickey and Minnie having their little party celebration. Happy times, kids. Look at that electrical display behind. Yeah, that's the California crowd. That's the New York crowd. And they're all celebrating together. Happy New Year's Rockin' Eve on ABC. And there's a ton of music still coming up. We've got Jason Mraz, Three Doors Down, Little John, Yin Yang Twins, Rascal Flatts, Jagged Edge, Bow Wow, Donna Summer, and Hall & Oates. We're going to be partying until the wee hours of the morning here on New Year's Rockin' Eve. So we invite you to call a friend, tell them to tune. We got a lot more good stuff still to go. And by all means, stay with us on New Year's Rockin' Eve.
And now a special message brought to you by M&M's.
All right, let's go back down to Times Square for another update from M&M's Red and Yellow.
Well, actually, Dick, it's Gray and less Gray reporting live from Times Square.
Hey, what happened to you guys?
2004, Dick. Time for resolutions. Giving up things. Smoking, drinking, shaving. We gave up color.
Hey, but you're supposed to give up things to improve your life.
Well, Dick, it seems we overlooked that little detail, so it's going to be a colorless year.
I mean, you're going to go a whole year without color?
It appears so, Dick, but you seem to be the expert on resolutions. How long do most people keep them?
Oh, anywhere from a week to a couple of months.
Okay, Dick, that's good enough for me.
First my purse, then my pants, now my color.
Oh, look, we'll get your color back. We just need a little help. Back to you, Dick.
Thank you, gentlemen, very much. Unbelievable. Steve, what's going on out there?
Dick, that was spectacular. We are now 8 minutes into the new year, and I'm happy to report that nobody's thrown up on me yet. And you know what? It's been a safe night here in New York City, the Big Apple, thanks to the men and women who wear uniforms, not only in New York City, but around the world, protecting our rights to life, liberty, and the pursuit of a really big hangover. And speaking of big hangovers, don't worry about me, because tonight, Dick, I've got a designated driver, and his name is Glenn Campbell. And by the time I get to Phoenix, it'll be Tuesday. All right. How great was it tonight, ladies?
Excuse me?
How great was it? It was terrific. Very, very nice. Dick, it's always a pleasure. Thank you for inviting me here tonight.
Steve, you are a joy to behold. Happy New Year, my friend. Nice to have you aboard. By the way, out in the square and all, some vital details of what happened out there. They had something like 20,000 pom-poms, 5,000 little handheld cameras were passed out, 5,000 confetti bags, 20,000 red balloons, 7,000 wigs and leis. All of those hats were given away. The square was filled with surround sound. And you know what? Over 1 billion, with a B, 1 billion people watched the show around the world. The ball dropped 77 feet, and all eyes were on the ball. It's a little calmer now. The excitement has died down a bit, but I must tell you, our party's going to continue right into the wee hours of the night. And now, with a classic song, one of the greatest of all time, and it has a feel that's perfect for this time of year, because it's up-tempo, it's retrospective, it's dancing, it's everything. Ladies and gentlemen, here is Donna Summer.
Let's go to Times Square.
And Dick Clark.
Thank you guys very much. You know, it's a wonderful night for a party. Here in Times Square, things have quieted down, but all over the world, the party started early. And we want to touch base ever so briefly with some of the celebrations around the world, starting off with Sydney, Australia. The giant gong started that, and a huge fireworks display over the Sydney Harbor with all the boats out there. Quite an auspicious occasion. Look at that aerial shot. Wow! And in Tokyo, they have sort of a different touch. They ring this huge bell with that big log, and they've got the same hand waving and the same happy thing. In Hong Kong, a little bit earlier, they too had their balloons waving, and 2004 was brought in all around the world with great celebrations. And you know what? Here in Times Square, it's going to continue. This crowd isn't going to run away so fast. When it's cold, they disappear quickly. When it's on the warm side, this spring-like weather, they're sort of hanging around for a while, and it'll take a while to get them dispersed, and then eventually they'll sort of all disappear into the woodwork. Mario, what's going on out there?
You know what, Dick? As opposed to last year, a lot of people are really hanging out. There's something special in the air this year. It was very emotional. People were passionate about bringing in the new year. Even saw a wedding proposal. When the ball dropped, bam, this guy dropped to his knee. I was starting to tear up myself. Was this great for you or what?
Awesome. Loved it. Loved it. Happy New Year.
Happy New Year. And ladies, what did you think about this?
It was a great year. Great weather, beautiful crowd. Absolutely fantastic. It's been great.
Exactly. Beautiful weather, beautiful people. Dick, it was beautiful. Thank you so much, and a big Happy New Year to you, buddy.
Mario, my friend, happy birthday. Happy New Year to you, my friend. Have a great 2004. Some of the highlights of the year going by while we look around Times Square. Let me just run through some of the notes here that I kept. At the Oscars, Adrian Brody won the Best Actor. Nicole Kidman was Best Actress. The best movie was Chicago. Tampa Bay won the Super Bowl. Lance Armstrong won his 5th straight Tour de France. And in the World Series, well, the Marlins beat the Yankees right here in Yankee Stadium. And the surprise of the year, who could have guessed that Arnold Schwarzenegger would become the governor of the California state? Unbelievable. In the meantime, they're still celebrating here, and we've got a lot more good stuff coming right here on New Year's Rockin' Eve.
Here are Brad, Chris, Matt, Todd, and Daniel.
The pride of, okay, I'm gonna get this right, I practiced it, Escutapa, Mississippi.
All right, 3 doors down.
"100 days have made me older since the last time that I saw your pretty face. 1,000 lies have made me colder, and I don't think I can look at this the same. But all these miles that separate
of rock music, there have been lots of great duos, but there's one that's considered the all-time greatest, no contest. Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome Daryl Hall and John Oates.
Only come out at night, bleeding hungry time, and nothing to do, to see, to hear before. Watching and waiting, she's sitting with you, but her eyes are on the door, on the door. So many a pain to see, but what you think, you get it for free. The woman is wild, but she got time. What does it matter if you're in it for love? You ain't gonna get too far. No way, no way, no way, no way. Watch out, boy, she'll chew you up. She's a man eater. Watch out, boy, she'll chew you up. She's a man eater. Wouldn't mind with you, I know what she can do. She's dead to me. She could really rip your world apart. Man doesn't matter who the beauty is there, but the beast is in the heart. Yeah, it's in the heart. Watch out, boy, she'll chew you up. She's a man eater. Watch out, boy, she'll chew you up. Man eater. You know you gotta watch out there. Watch out. Chew you up. Chew you up. Chew you up.
Performs with Jagged Edge, plus a song by Nick Lachey on New Year's Rockin' Eve 2004.
Happy New Year, Nick, and thank you so much for joining us along with Jessica. It's been a real treat to have you aboard. By the way, celebrations continue in Disneyland and Disney World, and of course, here in Times Square. Look at all the good stuff happening. Happiness prevails, thank goodness. Fireworks on the right and a happy crowd on the left. And in Times Square, there ain't nobody. Everybody's gone. No, not everybody, but there are a few stragglers. You can see the stuff on the street. Beale Street in Memphis, Tennessee, courtesy of our affiliate WPTY. We thank you ever so much. They're having a mighty good time. And tonight in Times Square, we had 3,500 pounds of confetti released, giant globe balloons released by hand from 23 different buildings. 103 sanitation workers working now until 6 o'clock in the morning to get all of this stuff cleaned up. Last year, it cost $26,000 to do so. Now, in Hollywood, we got Bow Wow featuring Jagged Edge. Hey, welcome back once again to New Year's Rockin' Eve, part number 3, the Post Show. And as you look out on Times Square, the party is pretty much wrapped up here, but we're going to be rolling along for another full hour. 3 shifts of sanitation workers will come in and tidy up this mess. It's the easiest way to put it. Now, let's go back about an hour and 5 minutes and see what all of the excitement was about. This is like an instant replay of the ball drop. It reaches 4, 3, 2, and there you go. Oh, a snow, no wonder we got to clean up this mess. Oh, such a good time will be had. More coming up. Don't go away.
Now from the legendary Hall & Oates to the legendary Dick Clark.
I thank you, sir. You know, years and years ago, 32 years ago to be exact, when we started New Year's Rockin' Eve, there were 3 of us involved. A cameraman, my wife, about 4. Cameraman, a soundman, my wife, and me in an aluminum ladder on top of a building somewhere. We have sort of grown a little bit since then. It takes a lot of people to put this together. And amongst them are our camera operators. I just want to acknowledge our studio camera, Baron Bonet, our jib camera, Mike Kursick. Handheld guy is Reggie Drakeford at the Marriott Hotel, Frank Cochia. Over at the Paramount Theater, Linda Horton. And our roving camera was Trevor Thompson, and it's just been a terrific crew of people working to pull this thing off. And as we tidy up and get our party underway in California, things pretty much are under control in New York. It's been a wonderful, peaceful night. Thank goodness, one of the better celebrations we've had in a long, long time. And the weather, talk about the weather. The weather just doesn't get any better, and there's still a lot more party to go. Hey, Dick Clark here in Times Square, holding down the fort along with Nick and Jessica on what I call it part number 3 of New Year's Rockin' Eve. And as you can see, these sanitation workers are at work. They have begun a part of a 3-step program to remove tons of stuff here. Now, in 2003, the American Soldier was named Time Magazine's Person of the Year. This next song has come to speak for these families from 3 Doors Down. Well, as you can see, the party's pretty much over in Times Square. People have gone their separate ways on to other parties away from Times Square. But things continue at Disneyland and Disney World in great condition. Let me give you just a couple of things that happened. The Gallup Poll organization has been asking Americans to name their most admired man and woman since 1948. This year, number 1 was George Bush, followed by Colin Powell, Pope John Paul, and Bill Clinton. On the women's side, we had Hillary Clinton, number 1 for the 6th time, then Oprah Winfrey, First Lady Laura Bush, followed by Condoleezza Rice. And the younger voters in the poll, the most admired woman was Jennifer Lopez, of all people. Yeah. And there we go. That's, what is that, Beale Street? Yeah, just warming up, getting ready. They're going to be celebrating 50 years of rock and roll all through the year. And now, with one of the great Hall & Oates songs of all time, here's Jason Mraz. Well, as we roll along into the wee hours of the morning here in New York, strangely enough, several hundred people have appeared in the square. I don't know where they came from, but their streets are pretty much empty. But all of a sudden, there was a mass of people appeared out of nowhere. In the meantime, let me thank some people responsible for bringing this show to you. Larry Klein, our producer, Barry Glazer, our Hollywood director, Bob McKinnon, who's our New York City director, Barry Edelman, who is our writer, Bill Clark, who is the ABC Associate Director of Production. It takes a lot of people to pull this thing off, and I'm very, very, very much appreciative of all the hard work they put into it. In the meantime, not much going on in Times Square. Lots of police still out there, few stragglers around, and we've got a little bit more party still to go in California, so hang on for Yig Yang Twins and Little John. Hey, it has been a wonderful 3.5-hour get-together for New Year's Rockin' Eve. Party is pretty much over now. A lot of people going to bed, turning in. Street cleaners are out, the street sweepers are up, the police are disbanding their activities, and everybody's going home to beddy-bye. Pretty much so. Whatever your plans are, have a good, safe one. thank you very, very much for joining us. And thanks especially to Nick and Jessica for joining us. They have been a joy to have aboard New Year's Rockin' Eve 2004.
All right, it's been a lot of fun tonight. Our thanks to all the great artists, and of course, a big thank you to Dick Clark.
And we had a terrific time with all of you tonight. Thank you for celebrating with us.
You know, 2003 was a very big year for us because it was our first year of marriage.
Yes, it was. It was very special. Just you, me, and those TV cameras.
And 2004 is going to get even better. So if you've been partying a little too hard, go ahead and flip your car keys to a friend because we want to see you around next year.
Good night, everybody, and Happy New Year!
Happy New Year!
After all, we do have the biggest party of the year on the way. We have an all-star lineup on the way here to Times Square, and we have the man at the center of it all. And by it all, I mean all, leading the countdown to the end of the year. Mogul, host, producer of Dick Clark's New Year's Rockin' Eve with Ryan Seacrest 2013.
Good morning.
He is here.
Thank you for that intro.
Indeed. We pick 8 things we can say about you from the 25. I want to start, though. It's Dick Clark's Rockin' Eve. And boy, this is going to be the first year in forever that he doesn't ring it in with us. How odd is that going to be for you?
I mean, surreal is probably the most appropriate word. You think back 40 years ago, even before I was born, he started the tradition with a camera, a light, and a microphone. And he carried that tradition for so many years. And you know, as a fan of television, as a fan of broadcasting as a kid, I not only watched him because I would be home when my parents would be out, but also I used to watch him and study how he hosted these shows. So to be standing there in Times Square years ago with him was really special for me personally.
And it's all what I've always loved about your story is that you did study. You saw professionally what you wanted to be, but then you also got to get to know him as a friend, as a mentor. What has he meant to you?
He's been. You know, when you're in school, you have a guidance counselor. He was kind of like my guidance counselor as I was growing up through the business. But he'd always make you feel, I think when you watched Dick Clark on television, you'd feel like you were his good friend. And he was like that in person as well. And I think that was one of the most amazing things about how he could host shows.
And so here we go. And it's going to be the first without. But you do have something of a star-studded cast to help ring in that year. What are we talking?
We'll reflect on Dick at the beginning, and we'll show some great moments over the years. But then we've got an incredible lineup. Just before midnight, we've got a superstar by the name of Taylor Swift.
Oh yes.
So she's having quite a career and
fair
quite
to
a
say.
year, breaking all kinds of sales records this year. So we've got her headlining outside live. We'll have Pitbull and we'll have Fergie hosting from the West Coast. Jenny McCarthy's going to be here in Times Square, and she ends up kissing a lot of people. So you never know what.
Okay, because we had it. Can we see it again? Jenny McCarthy, a year ago, finds one of our New York's finest, bravest.
That actually looks like more than a kiss to me.
That really does. I think they're married in some countries now.
So we're expecting. Well, we don't know what to expect.
Well, that's the thing. Do you really not? You really don't. I mean, it must be sort of fun.
Yeah. I mean, you know, you've got 1 million plus people outside, and you just kind of cover it like a big sporting event, and you're not always quite sure how it's going to go down.
And Fergie, again, you mentioned on the West Coast. What a portion of the program?
A portion of the program from the West Coast. So she'll have a bunch of stars out there as well. 2 of my favorites, Flo Rida and Pitbull. 2 of your favorites too?
No, I'm telling you, it's like you look at the roster. You wouldn't even know how to slot them.
We actually try about 6 months out to project who's going to have the best charting music towards the end of the year, and that's kind of how we try to book it.
Speaking of music, some of the new judges on the American Idol,
yes, sir,
including Keith and Nicki Minaj, Mariah Carey. The dynamic. I mean, you've seen it now.
Listen. Between Keith and Randy, these two are just. I mean, the claws come out with these two, you know? The dynamic is diverse. I mean, that's the best way to say it. You've got a legend in Mariah Carey, and some of those contestants come in and they've looked up to her, and they've wanted to be her for so many years. Nicki Minaj, who brings a special currency to the show as well, and Keith from his Nashville roots, Australian via Nashville, and Randy, who's been there for a long time. So I think for me as the host, it's going to be a fun circus to host as we get into it.
Every base covered. before we go, how do you do this? Like, how do you do this? I have one gig, and it exhausts me. I mean, you have all the others. Seriously.
They're pretty easy, Josh. It's like, welcome back. Take a look at this. We'll be back after the break. Here's what do you think of that singer? If you'd like to vote, call 1-866-IDOLS-01.
And then I do this.
I mean,
I do this.
If I can't get that done, I've got problems. But
it certainly beats working for a living.
I'm grateful. You know, I like the pace and I love doing it. And I'm grateful for the opportunities that American Idol's, changed my life and so many of us who've been on the show.
Well, it's New Year's Rockin' Eve. I don't think I have to tell you that it is in fact
Please tune
New
in.
Year's
Yes.
Eve with Ryan Streetcast 2013.
We will be there live.
Monday night.
The nation is paying tribute to the man who was called the oldest teenager in America, Dick Clark, who died today at the age of 82. To younger generations, this enthusiastic ABC legend was a member of their family on television, with them every New Year's Eve as that ball dropped in Times Square. But there are also generations who remember that Dick Clark changed this country, bringing rock and roll into our living rooms, inviting ordinary teenagers to the dance. And by the way, teenagers of all races. ABC's David Muir begins our tribute tonight in Times Square, where for 40 years it was not New Year's Eve until Dick Clark said it was. David.
Absolutely right, Diane. It was for so many years Dick Clark ushered in the new year right here in Times Square for America. But as you point out, decades before, he ushered in something else, American Bandstand, breaking barriers and breaking ground for the more than 10,000 musical acts he introduced to America.
It's time for America's favorite dance party, American Bandstand. And now, here's the star of our show, Dick Clark.
It was the 1950s when this country was introduced to Dick Clark, and he in turn would introduce us to the artists, the bands, the dance moves that would define us.
This one's called Rock Around the Clock. Bill Haley.
1, 2, 3 o'clock, 4 o'clock, rock. 5, 6, 7 o'clock, 8 o'clock, rock.
He once said it was very simple. We played a record, and the kids danced. And he made the way we danced okay for parents who still needed convincing. 1957 it all started. There would be 36 years of American Bandstand on ABC. Those boomers getting their own stage. The twist. There was the hustle. There was Elvis. But Dick Clark made it all okay. After all, he'd warmed up America for rock and roll. From the very beginning, Dick Clark had enormous influence. At just 28 years old, this.
You have a combined weekly audience of, let's say, 50 million Americans at least, and you receive 50,000 letters a week from your teenage fans.
His simple introduction made careers. It also saved them. Frankie Avalon.
They played a record of mine, Dee Dee Dinah, and that was on a Thursday, and on a Monday, I was on my way.
But there was something else Dick Clark did. He broke the color barrier on that stage, celebrating black artists ahead of his time, giving Chubby Checker his big break. And so many others, too.
I know you.
Ladies and gentlemen, please greet for their first visit, the Jackson 5.
Decades would go by, and yet Dick Clark still spotted talent long before the rest of us.
And is she hot? This is Madonna.
Over the years, Clark barely seemed to age. He spoke of America's nickname for him.
I have a terrible problem because people keep referring to me as America's oldest living teenager.
His ageless look so often the punchline from so many other famous faces.
I've been watching Dick Clark ever since I was a little kid.
But behind those youthful looks, a business sense ahead of his time, too. Investing in the programs he would host, creating an empire. Game shows and TV's bloopers and practical jokes. And he was the one who counted us down here on ABC.
2, 1, happy 2000!
That boy who knew from the start what he wanted to do.
I knew when I was 13 what I wanted to do. It's very rare. I walked into a radio studio and saw Jimmy Durante and Gary Moore do a radio show, and I said, wow, what a great way to make a living.
Only a stroke would slow Dick Clark down.
My speech is not perfect, but I'm getting there.
Forever the teenager who never liked to say goodbye, not on New Year's, nor on that stage that broke so much ground.
So long. So long. For now, Dick Clark. So long.
And as America now prepares to say so long to Dick Clark, I was asking Diane, a lot of the people who've gathered here in Times Square tonight, for the one word they would use to describe Dick Clark, and a gentleman shouted out, legend, and they all joined in. I think that's very appropriate for the man who brought us New Year's Eve here every year. It's not going to be the same on New Year's, Diane.
Certainly will not be, David. And today we were all remembering Dick Clark as we knew him, and I kept thinking back to 2001, right after 9/11, and the man who would not yield an ounce of spirit as he heralded in the first new year after that very dark day.
They are dynamic people. They're ready to go. They're ready to look forward to the year 2002. They were wondering if the crowd would show this year in Times Square. Never did I doubt it. Never, ever. New Yorkers are resilient people. They are strong.
Dick Clark, incredible optimism and spirit.
This is Channel 7 Eyewitness News with Bill Butel and Kaiti Tong, Corey McFerrin with sports, Sam Champion with the exclusive AccuWeather forecast, and the Eyewitness News team. Now, Eyewitness News.
Good evening and Happy New Year, everyone. I'm Tim Fleischer.
And I'm Roz Abrams. Bill and Kaiti have the night off, and here's what's happening. In just a few moments, 1991 will be ushered in with great celebration and fanfare. And in what has to be one of the biggest New Year's Eve celebrations anywhere, revelers, possibly 500,000 strong, are packing Times Square to witness the annual dropping of the New Year's ball. Carlos Granda is there, high above it all, on the 45th floor of the Marriott Marquis. Carlos, I'm curious, has the cold weather cooled down the celebration at all?
Not a bit. No matter how cold it gets, I don't think you can cool down this celebration. You know, there are plenty of lights on Broadway, but those lights over there on top of One Times Square are the only lights that people will be looking at tonight. And my photographer, Butch Robinson, can give you a shot here. We are 45 floors above Times Square. For 83 years, it's been a New York and really American tradition to come here. It's the longest running show on Broadway, and more than 500,000 people are here to see the show. They came ready to have a party. Hours before midnight, Times Square was packed. People were willing to put up with the crowds and the cold just to see that illuminated ball take its traditional plunge down the flagpole. Dick Clark, the host of Rockin' New Year's Eve, says this year will be a little bit different.
This is the 83rd annual dropping of the New Year's Eve ball, and you'll notice tonight when you watch it on Channel 7, it appears in red, white, and blue for a real good reason. While all of the merriment is going on, we're thinking of those people in Operation Desert Shield.
Of course, with 500,000 people in such a small area, there is the possibility things could get out of hand. Hundreds of police officers are stationed throughout Times Square in riot gear. Store owners aren't taking any chances either. Many storefronts have been boarded up. Most people, however, will just have a good time and remember always that cold New Year's night they spent under the stars in Times Square.
It's crazy. This is the place to be.
Where'd you guys come from?
West Virginia.
Why?
Because it's great in New York.
And of course, for those of you who are at home, don't worry. Just watch Dick Clark's Rockin' Eve tonight right after Eyewitness News, and you'll be able to see everything that goes on here at Times Square. Reporting live from 45 floors above Times Square, Carlos Granda, Channel 7, Eyewitness News.
My New Year's resolution is I'm getting off the cigarettes.
My New Year's resolution is to help in the fight against AIDS.
From Times Square in New York and the Walt Disney World Resort in Orlando, Florida, it's Dick Clark's Primetime New Year's Rockin' Eve 2001, starring Bon Jovi, KC and the Sunshine Band, Kiss, NSYNC, O-Town, and Jessica Simpson, plus Wayne Brady, and special reports from around the Big Apple from Steve Ducey and Madison Michelle. And now, live from the Times Square studios in the heart of New York City, here is Dick Clark.
Good evening and welcome to an entire night of celebration. For the first time ever, we're starting in prime time, and we'll give you a little preview of the festivities in Times Square and other parts of New York City. Speaking of Times Square, I'm going to be out there shortly. The big snow has been cleared away in this area, began to fill up in the middle of the afternoon, and by midnight, it's going to swell to over 500,000 people. And we'll tell you what to look for and take you behind the scenes for a sneak preview of one of the most exciting moments you'll ever see, midnight in Times Square. And while the anticipation continues to build, we'll also take a look at some of the New Year's most exciting superstar performances. And the performance that starts things, got a couple of correspondents to know where the action is, starting with this fellow right here, Steve Ducey. Now, I can't tell you how many times I've gotten at the crack of dawn to do his Fox and Friends show, and this is my chance to pay you back, buddy. You are out there in the cold. Was that snow or confetti? How are you, my friend? Where are you? What, 45th and Broadway, are you?
I tell you what, Dick, that is not confetti. Actually, they've flown in 8 tons of Chad from Florida for tonight. It's a very, very nice thing. Listen, I'm here with 500,000 people and 6,000 cops. It's like the holidays at Robert Downey Jr.'s house. Anyway, it's a little on the chilly side out here, Dick. So take a look. This family right here, they've secretly replaced their shoes with baked potatoes. Genius, absolutely genius. Here's Carl. Carl's brought a whole crowd. Carl, now, how many years have you been coming here?
7 years, and I love it.
Very
Big
nice.
Apple.
The great thing about Carl is not only is he on the Dick Clark Show right now, but he's also able to pick up CB radios. And listen, these girls, Dick, are from Finland, right?
Yes, hyvää uutta vuotta!
And how do you say Happy New Year in Finnish?
Hyvää uutta vuotta!
Very nice. They're from Finland, and what a coincidence, Dick. We're Finnish!
That's it. Whatever it is in Finnish, do you see? Hasta la vista. We'll talk to you later. By the way, it is 27 degrees out there. The wind chill factor is 15. Later on, we're going to go back and visit with him later. Right now, let's go to the Wollman Ice Skating Rink in Central Park, and a woman who is one of television's most talked about personalities, Madison Michelle. Madison, how are things at the ice skating rink?
Things are wonderful here, Dick. It is absolutely a winter wonderland here in Central Park. There is so much going on here tonight. There's fireworks. We're going to have a 4K race at midnight. We've got music. We've got a raffle. Things are really heating up. Check it out.
What is this? Wait a minute. Is this part of the celebration?
That's right. He twirls fire. He eats fire, folks. It is absolutely amazing. Look at this. Check this out.
Yes,
the mouth? Absolutely do it. Woo!
Oh, yeah.
Absolutely. Check this out. Whoa.
Holy mackerel, he did it. That's a hard way to stay warm.
Absolutely, bravo. I taught him everything he knows. I just want you guys to know that. How you doing tonight, Robin?
Good, beautiful, beautiful.
Amazing job you did there.
Thank you very much.
How would you describe your perfect New Year's Eve?
Tonight, here at Wollman's Rink in New York City, the greatest city in the world, and then back home to see the wife and kid.
All right, I like it.
Hello, Liam.
Hi, Liam. And you girls. Now, you guys look absolutely beautiful. A big hello in your mouth. All right. You guys look absolutely beautiful. Thank you. Is this your first time in Central Park for New Year's Eve?
Absolutely.
Yeah?
It is, yeah.
Yes? Give me a New Year's Eve in your native language. A Happy New Year.
Szczęsny rok.
All right, in Italian.
Buon anno a tutti quanti, a tutti gli italiani.
Oh, yeah! Right. What did you think of that fire eating?
It was absolutely beautiful. I think it was excellent.
Right. Now, I have one question for you. You think you guys can show me where you got those cool glasses? Let me get them. All right. Absolutely wonderful. Yeah, all right.
Thank you, Madison, very much. Happy 2001. They come from all over the world. Now, you know that Bill Maher is one of television's brightest comedians, and his hit late night show on ABC, Politically Incorrect with Bill Maher, is a place where you can get sort of a funny look at the news every night. As a matter of fact, we discovered that you can sort of relive the year 2000 through Bill's jokes, and to prove the point, we've selected some of Bill's gems to run for you throughout the show. And we're going to start back now. I think this is the one with Valentine's Day, when everybody was talking about that little boy in Florida.
Another chapter in the little saga of Elian Gonzalez. His father, Elian Gonzalez, his father, wrote a letter yesterday to Janet Reno demanding that he be returned to Cuba, and Janet Reno was so touched, not by the letter, just that a man sent her a note on Valentine's Day. Did you see Jennifer Lopez at the Grammys? I mean, wow. I tell you. In honor of her dress, they are changing the name of the Grammys to the Golden Globes.
Boy, oh boy, I have a feeling we're going to hear a lot more from that young lady over the years and certainly into 2001. By the way, Jessica is dating, as you may or may not know, Nick Lachey from the group 98 Degrees, which just happens to be one of the acts on New Year's Rockin' Eve, which airs tonight at 11:35 Eastern and Pacific, 10:35 Central Time. Right now, let's check in again with Steve Ducey. Steve, what are you up to? You're at 45th and Broadway.
Yeah. I tell you what, Dick, we could actually use 98 degrees out here right now.
Little chilly, is it?
It's a little on the chilly side. Hey, look, Dick, take a look at this.
What is it?
It's some official Times Square confetti that will be on eBay in 15 minutes.
You know, they've given away 5,000 bags of that stuff. I hate the disillusion, but it may not be of great value.
All right, you know, Dick, I'm here with 500,000 people. 9 have not been drinking. They're all waiting for the ball to drop faster than the NASDAQ. And you know, the funny thing about midnight in Times Square is at midnight, everybody sings that song, Auld Lang Syne, right? The funny thing is, nobody actually knows the words. Just watch this. I've got $1 to see if anybody knows the words. Regis has been running the network out of cash, so let's see. Okay, sir, finish the song for me. May all the sins be forgotten. La 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 la. Suddenly it's Shana Na. All right. And by the way, Dick, before we leave you, let me just show you this one person right here. Every year somebody comes out with no clothes on. Here he is, the hairiest man in New York. Nice to see you. I got one word for you. What's that? Epilating. All right, Dick, back to you.
Steve, better you than me. I'll be out there in about an hour and 15 minutes now. Bill Maher reminds us about the lady who started the year as an unknown, and she ended up posing for Playboy.
And finally, I guess you also heard about Darva Conger, the Who Wants to Marry a Multimillionaire Bride. Yesterday, she filed for an annulment. Surprise. It's terrible to see a marriage like that end so quickly. She said the whole thing really was a terrible mistake, and if she ever gets married again, she'd like to do it on a classy network like HBO. Bush conceded that Dick Cheney is perhaps not the most exciting guy in the world. But he has been around Washington forever, and he can explain to George W. Bush the tricky stuff, like how a bill becomes a law.
Hope you're warm inside, Dick. It's cold out here.
Happy New Year! They're still happy. It's 27 degrees out there with a wind chill factor of 14. You can see a little bit of the snow left. They've pretty much cleared it up. That crowd is gathering. They're going to get bigger and bigger, and welcome back once again. The one thing everybody asks about Times Square on New Year's Eve is, how cold does it get? Well, the coldest New Year's on record was 7 degrees, back in 1917, which, contrary to rumor, I was not there. I had a cold that year. Anyway, here's a look at some of the weather that I did experience. Take a look.
You know, I just suddenly realized that in the years that we've been doing New Year's Rockin' Eve here on ABC, it has rained every year we've been in Times Square. You don't really want to know what's shaking here. It's old Dick Clark shaking in Times Square. It's mighty chilly, but we got a happy group of people down there.
Laugh, you silly fool. This may look cozy to you. Can you see that? It's about 40, 41 degrees. It's raining slightly, but it hasn't dampened anybody's enthusiasm.
And as you can see, it's a little soggy, little rainy, but warm. You'll be amazed. This year, it's warm. It's 63 degrees, biggest crowd we've ever had. And I guarantee you one thing, it will be exciting, it'll be big, it'll be loud, and it will be, without a doubt, the coldest New Year's ever. This is the coldest New Year's we've ever had. Oh, indeed, there have been some cold nights, and I'm going to be out there in not too long from now. A lot of cold nights over the years, and this evening is no exception. The weather in Times Square, as I mentioned, is 27 degrees right now, 14 wind chill factor, something like that, and it's cold. Hey, gentlemen, thank you very, very much. You know, we can see that the crowd is gathering here, and it may be more than 500,000 people tonight. We'll check it out throughout the evening now. The Democrats held their convention in Los Angeles last summer, and of course, Bill Maher had a politically incorrect couple of opinions.
Did you see the big speech by Al Gore? Whew, exciting. No, he made a good speech, Al Gore, tonight at the convention. He tried to come across, of course, as a regular guy. He said he's no different than most Americans who work hard, pay their taxes, and hate their boss. Well, actually, there are some unprecedented things about Al Gore's speech. One, he claimed that he wrote it all himself. Politicians don't usually do that. He said he wrote the whole speech himself. Then he got carried away and said that he invented spell check.
We'll get a lot more from Bill Maher, and you'll find out which group has appeared on New Year's Rockin' Eve the most times when we come back. We're going to find out about that, and we got about 1 hour now for the new year. Don't you dare go away. Hey, welcome back. Question. What group has appeared on New Year's Rockin' Eve more than any other? Well, the Village People have been on twice. Lots of other groups have been on twice. Temptations have been on 3 times, but the current record holder with 4 times is this next group. Let me take you back to 1976. Now, that was the year we threw our Hollywood party at the world-famous Coconut Grove at the Ambassador Hotel. With the ultimate party song, KC at the Sunshine Band.
Me and you, and do the things, do the things that we like to do. Do a little dance, make a little love, get down tonight, get down tonight. Do a little dance, make a little love, get down tonight, get down tonight. Bang, bang.
It's hard to believe that was 24 years ago. Now, that is what New Year's Eve is all about. Let's see who's going to get down tonight in Central Park. Here's Madison Michelle again. Madison, what's going on?
Hey, Dick, it is just great over here. And you know, actually, Steve seemed like he was having a little problem finding some people to sing Old Lang Syne really well. Well, I have hit the jackpot over here. Let me show you what I'm talking about. Ready? Hit it, guys.
Should old acquaintance be forgot and never brought to mind? Should old acquaintance be forgot and never
Now, Madison, tell me the truth, Madison. You had a cue card. You had the words written down, didn't you?
I did not. I promise they knew all the words. It's just incredible. Now, you guys sounded so amazing. You must be professional singers.
I wish. A lot of us would love to become professional singers, but I just graduated from college, as did Aisha here, and these two are still in college, and they're trying to become performers as well.
What college?
We go to SUNY Geneseo out in Rochester.
Wonderful. Now, you kitty winks up here, how would you describe the perfect New Year's Eve?
Well, I would describe it like spending time with my family and like eating whatever I want to.
Right?
And having fun.
And what would you like to eat for New Year's Eve?
Some chips, some onion garlic.
How about you, Angel?
Well, I'd have pizza and cake and all the good stuff.
Ah, that sounds awesome. Well, what do you say that we go on in and get some hot chocolate? All of us.
Yeah.
All right, back to you, Dick.
Thank you, Madison. Pizza and all that. Oh, forget it. Now, Bill Maher couldn't let the show Survivor go by without a comment. Take a look.
And they already have next season's Survivor planned. It's a little different. They're going to have a dozen contestants spend 3 months driving a Ford Explorer with Firestone tires. That's...
When we come back, an exclusive sneak preview of tonight's celebration and a performance by O-Town. Don't go away.
Happy New Year's Eve from the greatest town in America, New York City. How do I know it's so great? I own most of it. Have a great New Year's Eve, Dick.
Mr. Modesty himself, Donald Trump. Donald, thank you very much and welcome back. You know, everybody is still talking about last year's Millennium Celebration. Remember it? 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Happy 2000!
It looks like a blizzard there. That's 3,500 pounds of confetti being fired by cannons from 13 different locations. Our cameras can hardly see through the paper. Happy New Year!
Well, nobody is resting on their laurels there in Times Square. Now, the man behind this year's celebration is right there over on that platform where I'm going to be in just a few minutes from now. Peter Coleman, who's the executive director of this whole thing. How are you going to top yourself, Peter?
Well, I think we may have topped it already. There's a gigantic crowd here that's been gathering since 3 o'clock this afternoon, waiting for the ball to come down at midnight. We certainly have a lot of confetti, 3,500 pounds. We also have the hundreds of thousands of handouts and 2 great puppets that are going to be coming out, Father Time and Baby Time, and of course, the ball with Waterford Crystal and the Philips light bulbs ready to descend at 11:59.
Peter, were you the least bit worried about the weather yesterday when a foot of snow fell on this town?
Isn't it unbelievable? Only New York could pull this off with the help of the sanitation department, the police department, the mayor's office. This place looks like it's the best it's ever been.
You know, it truly is amazing. This is the best choreographed party in the world. The NYPD, the fire department, the sanitation workers, you all pull together and throw the greatest party ever.
Yes, they do. And it's really thanks to them that over all these years, Times Square has really turned the corner. And this is when it's great to go into the millennium with this kind of great celebration and all the wonderful people that have put it together.
Well, Peter Coleman, congratulations on not only last year, but this year. How chilly is it out there on my platform?
It's actually not as bad as it was this afternoon. The wind has died down a little bit. All right, and there's a real happy crowd here.
I'll be jumping out there in about 45 minutes, Peter. See you in a little bit. Thank you ever so much. I guess probably the biggest story of the year 2000 was the election. The election that wouldn't end. Here's how Bill Maher saw it.
As of today, what I have to report is that neither Bush nor Gore has been elected president. I know that's a great feeling, but it can't last forever. As of 8 o'clock East Coast time, which we're taping this at that time, there is still no winner. There is a state of confusion and not knowing in America. So I guess the Bush era has begun.
Thank you, Bill. Remember, you can see Politically Incorrect with Bill Maher Monday through Friday after Nightline right here on ABC. And we'll be right back with Kiss, so don't you dare go away. Hey, welcome back. In just about 40 minutes or so, we'll be out there with a gang. And right now, here's a group that played to 1.5 million people on their farewell tour in 2000. How popular are they? Well, they are second only to the Beatles in gold albums. From their appearance at the Meadowlands in East Rutherford, New Jersey, here is Kiss.
And remember to rock and roll all night and party every day. You show us everything you got. You keep on dancing and the beat gets hot. You drive us wild, they'll drive me crazy. And you say you wanna go for a spin. The party's off, they come and let you in. You drive us wild, they'll drive me crazy. Yeah, you keep on shouting, you keep on shouting. Come on and clap your hands. I wanna rock and roll all night. We party every day. I wanna rock and roll all night. We party every day. I wanna rock and roll all night. Come on! We party every day. I wanna rock and roll all night. All night, baby. All right. Party every day.
They are definitely gonna rock and roll all night. And here in New York City, let us say goodnight to our correspondent, Madison. Thank you so much.
All right, thank you. All right, well, is it going right now? I'll give you some crazy characters out here on the ice, like this guy, for example. Take that off and talk to us. Hi, Mom. What's your name?
I'm Robbie Church from Lake Apacon, New Jersey.
Yeah?
Yes.
So what was the highlight of your night tonight?
Shaking hands with Mayor Giuliani.
All right, Mayor Giuliani. And where are you going to be when the ball drops?
I'll be in here in the park watching the fireworks and enjoying myself.
Everybody, Happy New Year. I'm Madison Michelle. Happy New Year's, Mom. Bye. Happy New Year.
Thank you very much. Hey, listen, we're ready to start celebrating. And it's awfully cold out here. So I tell you what, Dick, I've told all 500,000 they're coming into your dressing room because you're going to make them cocoa and then we're going to warm up in Diane Sawyer's office. Let's go, everybody.
Thank you, Steve Ducey. Thank you, Madison Michelle. New Year's Rockin' Eve is coming up, and our Hollywood host is the star of Whose Line Is It Anyway? Ladies and gentlemen, Mr. Wayne Brady.
We're getting our party started right now with 98 degrees. Yes. Oh, I love you guys so much that I want to be your fifth member, may I?
Absolutely, man.
Here's my audition. ¿Dónde está la biblioteca? Mi perro es nombre rojo.
Wow.
Very nice. As you can see, we're getting ready to get our party on in Hollywood. Is that good?
Right after the local news, the Bangles, the Baja Men, Third Eye Blind, Vertical Horizon, Joe, 98 Degrees. Going to be a great party. I'll be out there in the square. We'll see you there. Don't go away. Join us for New Year's Rockin' Eve here on ABC. Hi, Dick Clark with you live for the 29th year with New Year's Rockin' Eve here on ABC. And with me, Mayor Rudolph Giuliani. Mayor, how did you get this town cleared up so fast for the New Year's Eve celebration?
The greatest sanitation workers in the whole world.
It's a fantastic effort.
A great job. The transportation workers, the sanitation workers, the police, the firefighters. They started yesterday morning, and the challenge was we'd have to cancel it. And they said, no way we're canceling it.
In 10 seconds, Mayor, why is this the place to be?
It just happened that way. Asia, Africa, all over the world, they watch it here. It just happened that way, and thank God it did. We love it.
Thank you. Happy New Year, sir.
Thank you.
We got a great show coming up from New York and Hollywood, the greatest star lineup ever. It's the 29th annual New Year's Rockin' Eve on ABC.
From Hollywood and live from Disney World and Times Square, it's Dick Clark's New Year's Rockin' Eve 2001, starring 98 Degrees, Baha Men, Bengals, Boys to Men, Lone Star, Third Eye Blind, plus live from Times Square, Dick Clark. And now, here's your host, the star of Whose Line Is It Anyway, Wayne Brady.
How we doing? Hey, everybody. Welcome to Dick Clark's New Year's Rockin' Eve 2001. We've got everything. We've got great shows, great music, and Mr. Dick Clark himself in Times Square. Now, if you people are like me, you're ready to have the time of your life. In the words of the great Godfather soul, James Brown, I feel good. Y'all feel good. Do you feel good? And now
And the real ball will drop before it's over here. Look over here. Stevie Wonder comes to Times Square to celebrate. Happy New Year, my friend.
Happy New Year to you. How are you?
Take it. Stand right there. Happy New Year. The celebration continues in California and New York. The mayor was worried that they were not going to have a party tonight. Don't you worry. Everybody is here, and it's going to be huge. I'm going to jump up top that platform in a second, and New Year's Rockin' Eve will continue.
Dick Clark's New Year's Rockin' Eve on ABC.
Back live in Times Square, and it's time for resolutions. Wade, do you have one?
Yes, I do. I'd like to wish all the guys at the 5th Precinct a Happy New Year. They're the greatest. We are the finest. And to my husband, this will be the year we're going to start our family. Raymond, I love you for 5 years.
Happy New Year.
Thank you.
Oh, I'm sorry about my mic. Kareem, what's your resolution?
My resolution is to lose some more weight. So far, I already lost 10 pounds, hoping to lose at least 30 more for the year. And so far, I'm doing pretty good.
You know that's the #1 resolution of the year, to lose weight?
Oh, yes, definitely. Even my mom encouraged me to do that.
I wish you the very best, sir. Thank you so very much. Thanks for all the help here to you and all of your New York PD colleagues. They are the best. Speaking of the best, we have the best celebration of New Year's still to come. Up to the platform we go right after this. Thank you very much, and Happy New Year to you. Thank you once again for joining us. Can you believe, Mayor Giuliani said to me, how many years is this? I said, well, believe it or not, Mayor, this is our 29th year of joining the greatest party in the world, and thank you for all of your efforts. This truly is the best choreographed, best organized big party in the world. We're about 8 minutes to the big ball drop. There are easily 500,000 people here, maybe more. They're up in the office buildings. They're waving, they're saying hello from everywhere. The problem was, I think, the snow yesterday was about 1 foot deep, and everybody was concerned. But they cleaned up Times Square, they cleaned up the state. The temperature now is about 27 degrees. The wind chill factor is about 14. Our coldest year was about 14 degrees. That was 1976. And was your saying this is the best organized event ever. There are 6,000 New York police people here, 225 production people right here at the crossroads. There are fireworks at Disney World. There's excitement in New York. This is a party of parties. The crossroads of the world at 43rd and 44th Street. This is the heart of Times Square where everybody has their eye on that giant ball. This is where Broadway crosses 42nd Street. It's a sort of an X-shaped affair. Broadway crosses 42nd and 7th Avenue. They first did this thing back in 1905 with fireworks. Tonight, there will be fireworks at Disneyland, and Disney World is coming through with lots of excitement. As you can see, it's 11:53. That digital clock will remain there. We'll keep you posted all through the night. You won't miss a thing, and it's all going to happen on New Year's Rockin' Eve from the best vantage point in the world. Stay warm, stay cozy, enjoy the excitement on the 29th annual New Year's Rockin' Eve live from Times Square, from the office buildings, from the street, from Hollywood, from Disney World. This is the place to be. And when that ball drops, you're going to see excitement like you've never seen before. We've got 98 Degrees, the Bangles, the Baha Men, Boys to Men, Third Eye Blind, Vertical Horizon, Joe, Lone Star, going on to the wee hours of the morning. Coming up, the big ball drop here on ABC. Don't go away. We'll be back on ABC's New Year's Rockin' Eve right after this word. Ball is going to drop in just about 3 minutes from now. It takes them a while to put that ball together. That's the finished result up there. You'll see it drop down, and they've riveted together a lot of new things this year. It has 696 multicolored bulbs inside, 96 high-intensity strobe lights, 90 rotating mirrors. It weighs a ton, actually 1,070 pounds, and that's what every single one of these people is looking for. Watch that clock now. We're coming up on almost 2 minutes. 2 minutes and 14 seconds or thereabouts. First was dropped in 1907. It was made from iron and wood, and it hides up there at #1 Times Square. They're in the office building. Boy, that's a scary spot. Happy New Year, Dick. Thank you, folks. They've all got their eyes glued on the ball. Less than 2 minutes. You can feel the excitement in the air. They have distributed tons and tons of confetti at 42nd and 43rd Streets in the bow tie here. By the way, 85% of these people here on the square, Mayor Giuliani and Muhammad Ali there, ready to signal the ball drop. 85% of these people live outside of town. They've got their eye on the ball. Look at it. Oh, it's a biggie this year. Multicolored. Coming up on a minute or so. 19 to 35 years of age. A minute and 15 seconds till the new year. Keep your eye on it. It'll slowly begin to descend here very, very shortly. The visitors are watching. There's Mayor and Muhammad Ali signaling a ball drop. Here we go. Rockin' with Dick Clark. Bless your heart. Oh, you can feel the electricity in the air. Look at, oh, it's a blue color now. Here we come up on 30 seconds. The ball is slowly descending down that 70-foot pole. 5 huge television screens. They're counting it down. 20 seconds. In 15. Looks like it might be hitting that sign to drop early. 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2. Happy New Year 2001.
celebrating there on stage. Vertical Horizon coming up a little later. That's thousands of pounds of confetti, 1,000 volunteers here. It's a 24-hour celebration. Should have seen the snow yesterday. Thank goodness tonight it's only confetti. They did one great job cleaning this town up. That's California. Louis, thank you very much for a great party. Louis Navarro has been Wayne Brady. Bless you, my man. Little old Einstein. Hundreds of those balloons were distributed tonight. Seems like everybody's got one. Look at it. It is a blizzard of confetti. Times Square live. Say hi to the folks at home. They are so happy that it isn't real cold. You'd never know it was 27 degrees in New York City. They have heated up the air from the buildings down onto the street. Look at it. Hey, Happy New Year. Hotels in this area, 250 restaurants with 90,000 rooms available to all the people in Times Square. That's Disney World, of course. Big fireworks display going on there. In New York, they have a fireworks display up in Central Park, and sometimes from our vantage point, you can see it. Once again, our thanks to the Marriott Marquis Hotel people for allowing us to use their vantage point. It's just the best. That's from our ABC studios. Pyrotechnics happening here. Big fireworks on top of Times Square right now. #1 Times Square. Right above the 2001 sign. This party, you know, it's going to go on until the wee hours of the morning. This is just the beginning of it all. So stay here with us live in Times Square and in Hollywood, California for New Year's Rockin' Eve. New York, New York. This whole area is singing right now. It is a great celebration thanks to New York's finest. Look at them. Did you ever see a happier group of people? As I say, it's a young person's game. Most of the people here are between 19 and 25. The puppets flying. 500 dancers and actors and musicians and puppeteers. 5 big giant TV screens. Fireworks in Central Park. That's our chopper cam up there. It's a big night in New York. Yesterday, the town was closed down. A foot of snow, but they got the act together like no other town could ever do it. 20,000 red balloons being distributed, and we ought to check and see. Do we have the footage from around the world here? I believe so. Fireworks here once again. Sydney, Australia. They had 1 million people there on the harbor this year. 1 million people turned up for the Sydney, Australia celebration. Of course, several hours ago in Tokyo, similar celebrations. Beautiful lighting display. Around the world, it's 2001. Hong Kong. Little dancing, little display that cheek to jowl. They're standing, celebrating New Year's Eve around the world. Even in Moscow, they've got a little smattering of fireworks in the Kremlin. It's a big night for everybody, and it's certainly a big night here in New York. Fireworks atop #1 Times Square. That's a new one. First time they did that was back in 1904. That's an inside look down on the crowd from our ABC studios, where our party will continue on New Year's Rockin' Eve into the wee hours with 98 Degrees, Bangles, Baha Men, Boys to Men, Third Eye Blind, Vertical Horizon, Joe and Lone Star. Well, I'm talking about a talent lineup. Don't forget the huge American Music Awards coming up in a week or so on Monday night,
January 8th, hosted by Britney Spears and LL Cool J. Talk about talent. Opening the show with Jennifer Lopez, Tony Braxton, Ricky Martin, Martina McBride, Chadaisy, Billy Gilman, Pink, Marilyn Manson, Aerosmith, Outkast, Three Doors Down, Jessica Simpson. That is the biggest music show of the year. This is the biggest Times Square party ever. Forget last year. No, that was huge. This is big. Listen to that crowd. Back we go to California now. And yeah, the Baja. It's still going on here, Wayne. Before it gets too late, I want to thank a couple of people, as always. Larry Klein, our producer of the show, Barry Glazer, our director of the LA event, Bob McKinnon, who directs our New York get-together, Bill Clark, who's the ABC Associate Director of Production, for putting the whole New York party together, and to our cameraman. The fellow right in front of me, and I guess I'll take a shot from way behind us somewhere, is Larry Kaltenbach. Thank you, Larry, very much. On camera number 2, the handheld camera, way down on the street, Gene Kelly, bless your heart. We all thank you for the hard work. Way up on top of the Marriott Marquis is Lincoln Weiss. Lincoln, you got a good spot. You got an eagle's eye view up there. And I can't let this year go by without mentioning a fella we miss. For many, many years, he was the handheld camera on New Year's Rockin' Eve. Downstairs, we spent a lot of harrowing nights. We lost John Williams this year. And John, if you're up there looking in on the celebration, we're all thinking of you. And I thank you. I miss you. Now, back to business. They're still celebrating inside. Outside, Wayne Brady's got 98 degrees. The Bangles, the Baja Men, Boys to Men, Third Eye Blind, Vertical Horizon, Joe and Lone Star. And remember, the party is going to continue on into the wee hours. That's either 1 or 2 o'clock, depending upon what time zone you're on. So after our regular New Year's Rockin' Eve party, we're going to have a lot more music still to come. This is the place to be. You know, it's surprising. Hey, Mickey is, hey, Mickey. I think Mickey's either a year older or a year younger than I. Boy, he looks good for a mouse his age, doesn't he? Hey, Mickey. Now, here in New York, it's funny. This crowd is not dispersing. Usually at this time, they're running. There are parties all over this town. There are places to go. Look at the neon signs. You know, you can see a little bit of space. Yesterday, you wouldn't have seen that pavement. It was literally a foot of snow. This town came to a standstill until an army of terrific people cleared it up and made the party possible. They were concerned, as Mayor Giuliani said earlier, that they might have to cancel this celebration. It's never happened that way. Twice in years gone by. I'll tell you about that maybe a little bit later. But this year has come together beautifully. Well-organized, great party. The party continues in Times Square into the wee hours, as I mentioned, and of course, from Hollywood, California, with Wayne Brady and a raft of great stars. It's New Year's Rockin' Eve, again on the place to be, ABC.
Dick Clark was sick. They asked me, and I said, sure, I'd love to do it. And yeah, I did that, and it was quite a thrill. It was inside the GMA studio overlooking 42nd, overlooking Times Square. And the next year, Fox asked me to do it outside, which I thought was even more fun, because you're right there with the people. You know, you're a little above them, of course, but you're outside with all that cold air, and it's a pretty tough gig. I mean, you're there from 2:30 in the afternoon. They seal off the streets at 3:30, and you can't get through. And then you don't go on till midnight, and then you're on till, maybe 11:30 or something like that. And then you're on till midnight. So it's a long night, a long day, hard work. But I loved it too. I loved being I had never been to Times Square until I took that first show on New Year's Eve. It was a thrill.